the power of your life comes down to the power of your questions. You want more powerful answers? Ask more powerful questions. Men's medicine itself is about the community. It's about what the values of what that stands by. It is in alignment with Coach Hola, but I don't make men's medicine about me.
The reason I removed caffeine from my life is because I found myself too overstimulated, and that overstimulation was taking me away from who I actually was.
Mushrooms have been around since like the dawn of time, and they're part of the network of the earth. So they hold the memory of everything that's ever been here. There's so much wisdom that's in them. And the thing about plant medicine, it'll always give you what you need. Things like breathwork, like plant medicine, they will collapse time. They will upgrade you tenfold, or have the power to, because we're taking you out of the mind and into the body now. Go experience life. Step outside of your comfort zone. Say yes to some things that you probably would usually say no to. And maybe every now and then say no to some things that you know you say yes to way too frequently.
So that together we have clarity, direction, and success way beyond what we ever previously thought possible. Here's your host, Frankie Lee.
First things first, guys, before we get started with this podcast, do me a solid favor and subscribe to this on whatever platform you're listening to it right now. Whether that's YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, I'd appreciate if you just hit that subscribe button, and it lets me know that the content that I'm putting out for you guys is hitting your ears at the right time. Much love. This podcast is sponsored by contentremoval.com. So whether you're looking to remove any images, videos, search results, fake Instagram accounts, get in touch with us at contentremoval.com. Welcome back to the Frankie Lee podcast. Today, guys, I have another returning guest, and the reason why I wanted to do this podcast and get Mr. Lino Hola back on the podcast is because there's been so much transformation, I think, in both our lives that have happened since we did the last podcast and everything. And I've also been on this massive journey with learning about mushrooms, right? And it's for someone like myself who's not I'm not a drug taker, so to speak. I don't drink alcohol. I'm very straight edge and all that kind of stuff. It's been a massive learning curve to me, the power of using these things in the right way. And I wanted to come back on here today, get Lino back, talk about breath, talk about mushrooms, talk about all these other tools that are available that people kind of put to one side, and kind of really give you guys a deep insight into more of that, more of Lino. And yeah, man, welcome back, brother.
Hey, brother. Thank you for having me back.
This is the first time you've been in the new studio part of the apartment, isn't it?
I do love the space. I do love the feeling. I do love the energy. It's nice.
Yeah.
And I really love this thing.
Yeah, the light is fucking, I love that. But do you know what the thing is? I put it up too high, didn't I? So I have to set the camera back right there now to make sure I get the light in, but I should have set it a little bit lower. But you know, you live it.
It's been a while since you've been on the tools.
No, mate, it's level. It's true. It looks fucking good. I just didn't think of camera height. So, you know, but it looks all right. It looks good on YouTube. So I'm fucking happy with it. But mate, I suppose for the people at home that have, you know, if you haven't listened to the first episode with Lino, I think that's episode like 65, 66 on this podcast. Go and have a listen to it, because we went through a hell of a lot of journey in that. That's the first episode. But since then, what's been going on and what's been coming on into your life for you, kind of thing? What's been coming out?
You know, that podcast was a massive podcast in the sense of the response that it had. Yeah. And I guess because the things that we uncovered there, most people don't do.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people generally like personal development, everyone has their own approach, you know, about it, and doing deeper work and then deep inner work. And you know, probably the thing that stood out the most from people reaching out to me was that they wanted, not only did they want to do, they did want to do breath work.
Yeah.
They wanted to have the same, you know, results, I guess, transformation that you've had. But probably the one that really stood out to me was the partner breath work.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
The one that you know, between man and woman. And I guess that's probably because that's something that most people had never heard of before, never thought of before. So that one really, really stood out. And there's been so many people that have reached out because of the podcast. So I just have to say thank you. Thank you for all of the people that have reached out, and I've worked with a lot of them. A lot of them I've done calls with. Some I've even done, in-person experiences with. And, as a coach who's in this space, and I work with, a couple hundred people a week.
Yeah.
Some online, some in person. Obviously, I do the community sunrise breath, some one-on-ones, private stuff, my own online personal coaching. But this podcast, and I look at the reviews and I look at the feedback that you get. You impact people's lives, and that you are a trusted person, a trusted authority for people to learn from.
Yeah.
And you're not just interviewing your friends.
Yeah, no. I'm trying to put some wisdom into the ears for the people. Yeah. 100%.
So you really are reaching out to people that are of a high level in their field, in their area of expertise, in their profession, and you're delivering great value to the community, to your listeners, and as someone who's been on the podcast with you before and have people reach out to me as well, that's probably what my experience has been from your viewers. Like, they really, really trust you.
Yeah.
So I hope you do take that on board as well.
Yeah, mate, it's something that's never lost on me. The amount of growth that we've had with this podcast over the time, from starting it on the bedroom floor, it's not lost on me. That's why, other than an ad for contentremoval.com at the front of this podcast that goes for literally 10 seconds, there's no ads on the podcast. I've turned down countless sponsorship opportunities because they weren't the right people that were going to align with me, because I don't want to damage what is being built, and I don't want to disrupt the flow of the podcast. So it not only cost me to produce it, it cost me on the back end because I haven't been able to get any form of help, so to speak, support, because people, I wasn't attracting the right kind of brands.
Yeah.
Doing this work and everything that I'm trying to do to elevate myself is going to hopefully start to attract the right connections, and do you know what I mean? So that we can take this podcast to the next level, but do it the right way. Yeah. What I'm basically saying is, I will never ever compromise what I've built, because the reason I call it the Frankie Lee podcast is because if you build something in your name, you stand by the fucking thing. Yeah. If you call it, like Jay Shetty's podcast is called On Purpose, it's a great podcast, or any other podcast, but if you call it another name, it is your thing, but it's not completely you. Because do you understand what I'm saying about that? And I'm not mentioning Jay, because Jay's podcast is fantastic.
Yes.
But I'm just saying, by putting Frankie Lee above the door, it has to hit a certain standard, because I hold myself in a certain standard of life. And I think if anyone's listening, obviously there's people listening, but but I'm saying if that hits your ears at the right time, I think you should all hold your name in the highest regard as well, and only do things that you'd put your name to.
I think ultimately that's where we want to find ourselves, right? And I guess you can go that way, where you're going to go under a banner, you're going to go under a label. My personal IG is Coach Hola.
Yeah.
I am a coach, and then my community, my company, my business my movement is Men's Medicine.
Yeah.
Now, Men's Medicine is bigger than Coach Hola is.
Yeah.
Even though my following on Coach Hola is bigger than Men's Medicine, but Men's Medicine, the community itself, the brand itself, it's bigger than me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
But
and I don't make it about me.
Yeah, 100%.
There's a difference there, because I also enjoy my own personal life, and I like to post lots of things about my own family and my relationship, my marriage, and all of this sort of stuff, and my children, countless photos of my children and my own personal perspectives. But Men's Medicine itself is about the community. It's about what the values of what that stands by. It is in alignment with Coach Hola, but I don't make Men's Medicine about me. It's about the people.
Yeah, 100%.
Where Frankie Lee is about your life and what you're sharing to the world, and the people that you're interested in interviewing. This is why no one does No one's more passionate about podcasting than you. And I say this to people all the time. All the people can feel. People always remember how you make them feel. So when you're interviewing people, you're passionate every single time.
Yeah. So,
every single time.
So I turn down countless guests. I don't have all manner of guests on here that I could have. I have people. I mean, even though, like I said, it's Frankie Lee above the door, it isn't about me. This is about so much more than me. But I put my name there to hold myself highly accountable for the quality and for the level of values that I hold personally. That's why I put my name there.
Yeah.
So I do see it as like a movement. It's as the same as men's medicine, but I just put my name there to hold myself accountable. When it comes to guests, you won't. If I feel that this person's got the value to add to the audience, then I'll have them on. There's a lot of people that come on that want to come on that just want to sell something or promote something or like I had after we did a breathwork podcast. I had about 3 breathwork people reach out wanting to fucking come and talk about breathwork. I'm like, I've just done it, and I've just done it with someone who I've had a relationship with for like 5-6 months, and that's kind of that you can't fucking twist that.
No.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the journey that we've had that I really want to put into the ears of the listeners that listen to this is the fact of, like, I think a lot of people will reach out to you or reach out to me after the podcast and they'll go, I want to do this breathwork thing that you've done. I want to do this mushroom trip that you've just done. I want to do this experience you've just done. And they look at this piece and they think that's it. But what I wanted to really articulate today is the kind of the journey, because you said something to me before the podcast that I never realised, because we were talking about this whole journey that we've been on together, and it started in like September, didn't it, or something, or
something like that. Yeah.
Somewhere before then, or whatever. You said what I'd done in 6 months, most people wouldn't do in 5 years.
3 to 5 years, yeah.
And I was kind of a bit shocked by when you said that. So
what I mean by that is the level of upgrades that you've been able to have. Yep. The person I'm talking to today isn't the same person that reached out to me back in September.
Yeah.
And not by a little bit, by multiple levels.
Yeah, I see that, yeah.
Yeah, the man that stands in front of me, you're not just a man who's had a transformation. You're a man that's transformed multiple times.
Like, it's been like a rebirth, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
It really has. It really has.
Over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So, that's what I mean by the amount of work that's been able to be achieved over the last 6-7 months. It has basically is what we would call collapsing time.
Yeah.
You've collapsed time. What would take most people 3 to 5 years, you've done in 6-7 months.
Fucking hell.
Yep.
When you put it like that, you don't. When you put it like that, and even me, I'm sat here and I'm like kind of dumbfounded by the fact of like how much work actually has gone in. Because what I was trying to say before, like before you said that, it's like people come and they see the end result and they say, I want that. I'm like, but you do realise that is like hundreds, if not thousands of hours.
Thousands, yep.
That's thousands of hours.
Hundreds of hours, thousands of dollars.
And thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And also
in multiple ways. Because I'm not the only person you've reached out to for support.
Yeah.
When I say support, I mean support for growth.
Yeah, and this is exactly why I wanted to do this today, because it's like there's a few elements to it I want you guys to understand. I do sound healing, right? I've been massively exploring into the sound healing space, and that's done wonders for me. And I encourage you all to step into the sound healing. I'll do a podcast on sound healing at some point, but to step into that space. And then you got like the meditation and breath work that Lino's took me through and all that stuff, and understanding of that and processing and those emotions, and breathing with someone I had a previous like kind of like connection with and relationship after we'd broken apart and all this stuff and rah rah rah. There was that breathing into that, which was very confronting. And I don't know if everyone would be able to be able to do that. Do you know what I'm saying?
It's not for everyone.
And then you got the other piece, which is like the mushrooms, which is, I started off microdosing, and then obviously, I did a which we're going to talk about, is a 2 gram journey, and then I did the 5 gram hero dose journey. But when I'm a believer that things call you out, right? That things call you. So, for argument's sake, when I first, and this hopefully you guys understand this when I say this to you, but it's like, so you'll listen about breathwork and you'll think, oh, that's a good idea. And then you'll listen about breathwork another day and you'll be like, you'll feel called and drawn to be like, fuck, I really want to explore that. I think it's the time. That's what I mean by you'll feel a deep calling within yourself to try these things. And every tool, like sound healing, like mushrooms, like breath work, like any form of this stuff that you experience, like meditation, it all calls you in at the right time. And when I was first initially called to you, Lino, like I was just like, do you know what? I've done this, and this, and I've tried to level up in every aspect. And I was like, I ring you up and I'm like, mate, let's meet and chat about this breathwork thing because I want to take it seriously.
You sent me a message and you said that Miles told you, recommended that you reach out to me.
Yeah.
I said that we could catch up tomorrow morning, I think it was.
Yeah.
And you said, can we catch up tonight?
Yeah.
I probably said it on the last podcast, but you don't really do anything in halves. So we caught up that night, spoke for about 3 hours. Yeah. And, we've pretty much worked together ever since.
We have,
we've worked together ever since. And I don't have many people that I allow to breathe with me personally on my personal mornings. But you're one of those few people that I allow into my space because over time we've developed a relationship, a friendship.
And we can, now we're at the level where we can breathe in the right rhythm.
That's
and you're not so much teaching me. I just follow. I can just follow and know where you're going.
Yeah.
It's like we breathed before this podcast and like, I was like, should we breathe before the podcast? And you was like, you're feeling it. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And then when we did it, it just kind of works, doesn't it? Because you just kind of, that's the benefit of that's why everyone should have a mentor or coach or something, because that relationship, that's why you pay to collapse time. You should always pay to collapse time for that exact reason.
And I guess that's one thing that I'm really proud of is how much your intuition has been able to develop over time as well.
Yeah.
So the reason why you came to me to start off with isn't the reason why we stay together.
Yeah.
It's far beyond that. It's been far beyond that for a long time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And not everyone, does that. And we spoke about it earlier that you actually don't have, many distractions as well. So you're able to grow, and I wouldn't have you grow or transition onto the next level or the next thing for you unless you were ready.
Yeah.
Yep. So there's the release work, there's the experience, and then we integrate, and then if it's time to move on to something else or something bigger or go bigger than what we did last time or go stronger or deeper, whatever it is, we make sure that we prepare that you're ready to go or we intuitively feel into it. Yeah. And I guess, you speaking about the mushroom, the psilocybin, that you had been microdosing for quite some time now. And I personally been microdosing for a couple of years now.
Can you speak in for the people out there that want to understand this more in depth? Can you speak into the benefits of mushrooms and why you microdose mushrooms?
Well, I guess look, when there's DMT in mushrooms, yep, and when we breathe, we're able to tap into DMT as well. If you can feel it, you've probably taken too much. Yep.
On a microdose. On a
microdose. Yep. Now, what it should do is it should open up your mind more. And for me, I'm of the perspective, if it allows me to fire off on more pistons, on more brain cells, I'm like, why not? Yeah, and nerves that fire together, wire together. So if we're opening up more, and especially I like to microdose with cacao. So cacao, and my perspective is that if cacao opens up the heart and psilocybin opens up the mind, I'm winning.
Yeah, and when that was one thing that when we did the two ceremonies was the fact of like the first ceremony was a 2-gram dose of mushrooms. The second ceremony was a 5-gram hero dose of mushrooms. And when we did both, just the whole experience and doing it in a ceremony form, and making it. It's not just about going out and taking a substance.
And we work together, all the time. So, and I know that you're always working on yourself as well. So like, this isn't just come off the street. This is what, this is what you can do. You're deeply committed into the work, and this is why you've been able to grow and collapse time. And I guess life hack. Yeah. This is a biohack that you've been able to grow so rapidly is because you're so deeply committed to this. You don't have a partner. You don't have a partner waiting to spend time with you, where your time is invested there, or children waiting for dad to come home, or the rest of that sort of stuff. So like, you get to really laser focus in on what you're wanting to do, 100%. Which is why you've been your trajectory of growth has been so, elevated, escalated, so rapid.
I think all my life, for the last 2 years, my life since I came to Australia has all been about developing self. But in the last 2 years, it's just I'm just literally like, okay, how good a man can I be? What is the best version of me? How many shadows can I uncover, pull up the weeds and clear that out and lay some new turf there? Do you know what I mean? How many things can I address? How many triggers can I remove? If I'm a big sponge with a load of buttons on me, how many buttons can I take off? Do you know what I mean? That's my mindset now. It's like, okay, cool. What more can I learn?
And I will, anchor this in that our friendship, our relationship, more so, the strength of our relationship is the reason why we could do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want
and
people
the
to
other thing is,
understand that.
I actually don't do this with just anybody.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So we have to make sure that we're giving full reverence to any medicine, even cacao, even breath work.
Yeah.
So many people are doing big experiences, whether it be breath, whether it be cacao, any kind of ceremony, any kind of plant medicine, no integration whatsoever. So we've spoken multiple times, this week, and even still, when we were supposed to connect together for this last week, I called you. We got brother, when you're coming over, I said I'll be over soon. Called you back and said, you know what, bro, I'm feeling into this. I don't think today's the day. Today's the day. That's how real and serious giving full reverence and respect to the work is. Don't go going into this if you're not fully in alignment.
Yeah, see this
because we're talking about energy here, so we can't see anything. And in any ceremony, just like when it's breath or whether it's plant medicine, any kind of experience, and that's one thing we've really worked out with you is that you benefit so much more from private one-on-one
100%.
experiences. Group, great, but for you, if you really want to get the most out of it and get the best out of it, for you, a personal experience is the go. So I'm here. I'm playing all the instruments. I'm DJing the music. I'm guiding you. I'm watching. I'm watching over you safely. And I would only do it. This isn't something I do with just anyone. It's the relationship that allows me to do this, and the journey that we've shared together that allows me to say to you yes or no. And because we have a strong relationship, when I said no last week, you trusted.
Mate, this is one thing that I've learned through this whole raising consciousness, spirituality type process for me. That's allowed me to level up in my life. One thing I've learned to do is everything that happens to me is for me. So, but what do I mean by that? And I want you guys to really deeply understand this. Something might happen to you in your everyday life that you perceive in that moment as a negative, but that negative down the track will turn into a positive for you because of what it does. So, for argument's sake, your tire might go flat on your car. You go down, you're pissed off because your tire's flat. But if you had left that morning and your tire had been inflated, you could have gone out, got T-boned by a bus, and you could be dead because that's how time was working out for you. So the flat tire did you a favour. You were a little bit late, but that saved you down the track, right? And then because you popped your tire, you turn up to the gym late, and then you meet this chick, and you have this mad connection with her, because you're at a gym the hour later than you were meant to be at the gym. Nothing's working against you in life, and you don't have to see. You don't.
And there are signs everywhere. So for me, we had organised at the beginning of the week to connect again at the end of the week, and then the week happened. Big week for me. I underestimated how big it actually was, and then when it got to the end of the Friday, and you were checking what time I was coming over, I told you, I'll be over at X time.
Yeah.
And then when I got off the phone, I think I might have had a phone call after that, and I was like, you know what? And I spoke to my wife. I said, energetically, I don't think this is a good idea. It's been a big week. At the beginning of the week, I don't know how big my week is going to be. But now at the end of the week, the worst thing I could have done was come to you exhausted. The worst thing I could have done. And we do this all the time, especially in today's world. If anything that this whole pandemic has taught anyone was to slow down and turn within, to listen. Yep. Now imagine if I come over here exhausted, worn, after a big week and tired, and then we go on this big journey. Now, I'm not working safely, and we aren't working in a safe environment.
Yeah, and
we're not working respectfully. Yeah,
it's all about learning to listen to that intuition about what feels right, and that's something this whole process of the last 6 to 8 months has taught me. I've removed caffeine from my life. The reason I removed caffeine from my life is because I found myself too overstimulated, and that overstimulation was taking me away from who I actually was. That might sound stupid, but it truly was, because I don't feel like you should need a substance to take you to a level. You should be able to get to that level on your own. So when I sit down here and I've had no caffeine,
if anything, it should complement, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It should give back to you. Yeah, which is what breath work and plant medicine does. Yeah. Recreational doesn't. Yeah, caffeine, things like, when we think about some things that are beneficial acutely in the short term. Anger is great to get you started, but it will not take you further.
Yeah.
It's not a great long-term plan. Yeah.
And that's what I feel that caffeine does to you.
It gets you off the start.
Gets you angry, gets you G'd up.
Yeah, gets you G'd up. But just like anger, you abuse it, you use it as your fuel all the time, you'll eventually burn out. And all of a sudden now you become insensitive. You can't really feel things. Speed really does kill.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll kill your ability to pay attention to the details.
Yeah. 100%.
And we all know what it looks like when someone's wired on caffeine. And I'm actually quite caffeine sensitive, so I don't drink a lot of caffeine. And for those, we all know what it looks like when someone had way too much caffeine. Super jittery. Stimulants will do that to you. Too much pre-workout. It'll do that. So to hear that you've taken a break on caffeine, I'm really grateful, because you had a lot of those energy drinks around.
Mate, I've been off caffeine about 70 days. I used to smash like 3 Monster energy drinks a day, pre-workouts, this, that, and the other. But here's the thing. I realised when I was doing the sound bowl healing that I was learning to listen to myself and learning to listen to the whispers inside my own body, right? Because in that silence is where you can do a lot of learning about yourself. You can't do that if you're fucking redlining your body on caffeine, because you can't hear yourself and you can't hear what you need to hear.
Yeah, because the speed kills.
Because the speed is always killing you. So I was redlining my adrenals, wondering why I'm not getting to where I need to get to. And then as soon as I removed caffeine, obviously I went through a massive 10 days, 15 days where I felt like fucking shit, wanted to fight the world, rah, rah, rah. But on the other side of that, the benefits from removing that kind of shit from your life, which is the most addictive drug in the world, right? Fact, more addictive than cocaine. The benefits for me from removing that is now I can feel my gut feelings. I can feel, this doesn't feel quite right to me energetically.
And ultimately, that's what this whole journey has been about, right?
Yeah.
Getting you to trust yourself.
Yeah, which I never did before. I never had that trust in and there was always, that's why I was always looking for something externally as the kind of as something outside of me to kind of to give me a feeling of, oh yeah, cool, like, do you know what I mean? Which is what a lot of people do.
And I just want to highlight, as we're talking right now, that what I share with people is I don't do anything to people, I do things with people. Yep.
Yeah.
I don't do anything to you, I do things with you.
Yeah.
And if I can't get you to a place where you can listen to yourself, now it'll be like I'm always doing things to you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That you're giving yourself consent, you're giving yourself permission to do things. Even though I might be guiding and supporting you through breath work, you're the one who's doing the breathing.
Yes. People have to take ownership of self and ownership of the fact of, like, when you get a coach, and it doesn't matter whether it's a coach for Brazilian jiu-jitsu, boxing, breath work, meditation, whatever, the whole role of a coach is to coach you so to the point where you don't need a fucking coach. Where I think there's a lot of people that have coaches that listen to this that have coaches that have been with a coach for like 3-5 years. It's like, yeah, but why should you need to be with them for 3 or 5 years? You don't need a PT for 3 to 5 fucking years.
If anything, my belief, that's the point where I want to get my clients, to the point where they don't actually need me. I've got one client, we've just gone from 4 days to 3 days, and he's the only PT client out of, after my 15 years of personal training, he is my only PT client that I train. I don't have to tell him how to eat. He's learnt and he's adhered to it the whole time.
Yeah.
I don't have to tell him how to train. He's able to follow my instruction, and he knows what we're doing now. If anything, he trains with me for accountability, for safety, so he can continually, progress. But we've just gone from 4 days to 3 days, because he doesn't actually need that fourth day in there anymore.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm like, this is a great reflection. This is a great sign of growth for me, because he doesn't need me anymore.
Yeah.
He doesn't need me for all of those days anymore, and I'm like, this is where we want to get to.
And if you're willing as a person to go out and learn, like I was, and you're willing to invest, you need a coach that's also willing to know when to push you forward in terms of, like, we need more time, and when to pull you back in terms of, we don't need as much time now because you got this.
Yeah.
And with this whole mushroom thing that we'll go into now, I was already microdosing mushrooms, and I'd felt in this kind of, a lot of people have been saying to me, oh, do this, do you want to come on this trip with me? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do this?
Yeah, and I remember you sharing it with me, and I was, my recommendation was, I'm not going to be the one to suggest anything to you.
It's going to call you.
Well, you're going to feel the calling. Yeah, I didn't tell you. You felt the calling.
Well, I said, but then here's the thing with it was, and I'd mentioned it and I'd let it go, and then when I messaged you one day and I said to you, "Do you want to breathe?" You said, "Frankie," and then you called me back and you was like, "I think it's now time to try this thing, because you don't need to breathe anymore, right?"
Oh, you mean last year when you started microdosing?
No, I mean this before we did the 2 gram journey I'm talking about.
So you were already microdosing.
Yeah, I was already microdosing. Yeah.
And I said, feel free to explore this.
Yeah.
Marrying breath with a bit of a bigger dose than your microdose.
Yeah, which I started to do.
Yeah, which is what we did. So we married rebirthing technique together with a smaller dose.
And this was the 2 gram dose.
That's right.
So explain to them. So just to give you guys a bit of an insight, obviously I'd been microdosing, I'd been breathing with mushrooms, I'd been sound healing with mushrooms at this point, and when I say microdosing, I was taking anything up to like 0.5. So 0.1, 0.2, 0.3,
and everyone has a different tolerance. So mine's not even that much. When I microdose,
yeah,
like it's like a small amount.
Yeah,
small amount. Yeah, like it's like the tip of a teaspoon.
Yeah, the tip of a teaspoon is
like
kind
for
of
me.
is kind of what you have.
Yeah,
but I'd been doing that, and I'd experienced from breathing with it. I thought, fuck me, this stuff is wild. You don't on a microdose, you don't go off into the fucking stratosphere or anything like that. It just raises your consciousness and opens you up to seeing more. It's like you start seeing the world in in cinematic mode.
Well, if anyone's on Netflix or anyone follows Fantastic Fungi and you study up on it and you research up on it, like mushrooms have been around since like the dawn of time, and they're part of the network of the earth. So they hold the memory of everything that's ever been here. There's so much wisdom that's in them. And the thing about plant medicine, it'll always give you what you need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
now,
you
if
can
you
go...
come, if you come in, and this is why it has to be in alignment, why it has to call you, never do it if it doesn't, right? Is because if you aren't called and you do it anyway...
You'll have a bad experience.
It's the same as a bad trip.
That's why bad trips happen though.
That's right.
Because
set and setting is so important.
And it's
the context behind it. Prep so important. All of these things, even recommending, your nutrition leading up to it as well. Like preparing the body. This ain't no joke. This is something that has the power to change your life. Change your whole perspective on things. If
you use it in the right respect, and you need to eat. But this is one of the fundamental key things I also want you to take from this is the fact of you can want to do mushrooms, but just be willing to do the walk before you do the run, because the run. When I say the run is taking 2 grams. The run is taking 5 gram doses. They're runs. You're running at that point. Before you do any of that, you want to have already microdosed for a period of time and experienced the feeling on it.
Everything's very, very relative. Very, very relative. And putting that in perspective, you breathe with me for months, right? You've been microdosing for months. We talk pretty much every week. Yep. Sometimes a couple of days.
A couple of
days a week, So, I've been able to have a finger on the pulse on your life, on a really intimate level before I say anything to you.
Yeah.
Before this comes into account, making this decision that this is what I feel is possible or okay.
And that's why when I rang you on the phone and was like, let's do this next breathwork session. That's why at this point you said, you know what, Frankie, now we're ready to do a little journey, because at this point we'd done all the prerequisites to get to the point, and then at the time when you said it, I was like, okay, now I'm being called to it. Do you know what I'm saying? Because that's how I felt in that moment when you said that to me. I was like, now I'm being called to it.
And you'll always know.
Yeah, and you always do know. Yeah, and that too. What was that from the outside looking in? Because obviously now I want to go into what that 2 gram trip was like for them, because I want them to understand that is like for. What was it like? What was the experience like from the outside looking in for that?
Well, as you're saying that, it kind of makes me think about the other things outside of the work that you've done with me that I also take into account before making my decision.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like the sound healing.
Yeah.
Like you've been doing this multiple times and you've been doing breath with that. You'd also done that one-on-one that we did with the alchemy bowls as well.
Fuck yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, that was sick.
That was
sick.
Yeah, that was cosmic.
Yeah.
And it just, I know how committed you are to this. So when I thought about when I felt into what I feel was possible, or what I was feeling we were being called to, or what we could do next, I was like, okay, cool. I feel like a bit more than if we marry something a little bit bigger together with what we're already doing together, you'll get a greater combined, experience.
Yeah.
You're already going to stimulate and tap into DMT with the breath. But everything that we've already done I think it wasn't calling for more of that. Yeah. There's also another breath, rebirthing, style that I shared with you, that we could do as well, in the water, which is, rebirthing. For anyone that knows rebirthing, it's a phenomenal style of breathing. And that's
is the concept of rebirthing just to reset you at a cellular level.
Well, Leonard Orr, that it's quite a subtle, style. It's all through the nose,
yeah,
and it's quite a subtle style of breath. A guy named Leonard Orr, he was the one that discovered it. And when we think about being birthed into this world, it's you're coming through the birthing canal. For a lot of people, that's a traumatic experience. Not all pregnancies or births are pleasant experiences. Some of them are really traumatic.
Yeah,
you know, and that trauma can be passed on to the child.
Right, okay.
And you can heal from that experience through rebirthing technique.
Because I didn't understand, obviously, I know this now from my own personal journey, is the fact of like, I came into this world with a lot of trauma from my mum carrying me in the womb, because my mum had lost a child previously to me being born, so she was carrying all that fear and transmuting that to me in the womb. It's
possible, yeah. It's possible that this stuff can transfer.
100% know that is my truth, because of how I know how I felt and I know how I've transformed, and I'm telling you now, 100%. All the lacks that I felt in life fall back into that category, of feeling that lack of love, lack of connection with my mum, that I'm mending and have mended and have rebuilt connections with. That there is all from those times. So you speaking into that and guide me through this rebirthing technique with the mushrooms and the breath work, powerful shit, can transform someone's life. And here's the thing, right? Do it if you're open, guys, to doing this work, and you're going to have to find yourself an applicable coach and do the work and this, that, and the other. But if you're open to mending and healing these wounds within inside yourself, that they're not your fault, but they are now your responsibility. So they are not your fault, but they are now your responsibility. Yep. So you have to fucking be responsible for dealing with that shit and boxing it off.
And that's because that's just the way it goes. No one can ever do the healing for us.
Yeah.
And this is why I say, I don't do anything to you. We only do things with each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's where you're going to get the greatest results. If it ever is someone doing something to you, I don't think you want to, it's not the nature of the way I choose to do things. Because I'm looking for longer lasting results, and the human body knows how to work for itself. So you giving yourself permission allows us to do greater work together.
Yeah.
Together.
How can people then find the best kind of person, coach, mentor in where they live that listen to this? How can they find that person that can guide them through this journey of breath, this journey of learning more about themselves, the journey of removing triggers, the journey of maybe going into a mushroom journey? I mean, it's all part of one and the same thing, but there's so many elements and stages to it. Like, not everyone's got access to men's medicine or something like that.
Well, look, there's before stepping into this space, I didn't even know it existed.
Yeah.
You don't know what you don't know. It's as simple as that. Whatever's in life is an ecosystem, and everything touches everything. So outside of your comfort zone is the rest of the world. And if you're wanting to reach out to things that you have no idea about, or the unknown, then you're going to have to step into the unknown. Talk to people. Literally talk to people. Step outside your comfort zone, and it may be just starting small. You might find yourself you're a bit of a hermit, or you're a bit of you kind of stick to yourself. And maybe you might be going for walks. Maybe stretching yourself and talking to the person at the cafe might be a bit of a stretch to you. You just never know who you're going to talk to.
Right.
Yeah. So I found myself in courses and workshops and events and programs, and it's literally my whole journey has been an organic progression, one after the other. And I guess, you've been over the last 6-7 months, what I've been on this whole journey, I just keep saying yes. I just keep saying yes. So we have an experience. I guide you and support you through integration. You go and you apply that into your normal life. And when it comes time to grow again, at the beginning, it was very intensive. We did it weekly, sometimes multiple times a week. And then that's been the journey at the beginning. And then it became further and far between until the point where you could actually sit with me.
Yeah,
and you could join in with me on my daily routines.
That was a very proud moment for me, someone who didn't know how to, who everyone out there thinks that breathing is an automatic thing, which it obviously is.
It is.
Which it is.
And breath work is not.
But breath work and breathing are two separate. You think you know how to breathe until you learn breath work.
Yeah, breath work is very, very different. And then when I felt that you could sit with me, I only allowed that to happen because I didn't have to instruct you anymore.
Yeah.
You could follow my lead and follow my breathing.
Yeah.
Yep. At the beginning, I told you what I would do. And then eventually, I didn't tell you what to do. You just followed suit with me.
You feel it. Yeah, you feel it.
And then there were even times, and this is where the real proud moments come in. I tell you, brother, I'm just going to follow your breath. There was a time before I even told you that where it got to the end and I just thought, you know what, on this last round or two, I followed your tempo.
Yeah.
And what I realized was, I was like, he's really holding on to this breath hold, huh? And when we come out of it, you said, I could have held on for ages. I said, yeah, I know, because there was only 60 seconds left of that song. You were still, and you were still holding on. So, like, this is what I mean by relationship. And you know, it's very rare that anyone gets to come that close. And it's not because I won't allow people into my space, but there's only 24 hours in a day, and there's only so much time. And my morning routine, like, let's say I'm sharing that with like 20 people. Now I've given my routine away. Now I've given my personal space away. But purely because we've been able to build, you know, a very intimate relationship where we're very, close, and we're in sync. We're in synchronicity. You know, we're able to, we can feel each other's energy. You know, we're sharing a trusted relationship. I'm like, yeah, brother, come share with me.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And if that hadn't been established, then I wouldn't have said yes.
And
that's the truth. I just wouldn't have said yes.
And that is a fundamental key to like a coach and a student type relationship with especially in this spiritual space where you're going into the breath work and all this stuff. It's so important that you go into that with someone who's aligned. I think my main advice to all of you is, like, if you're gonna try these things, just go and taste lots of different things, like in terms of, like, try the breath work, try this, try that, put yourself out in them situations that make you feel a little bit out of your comfort zone, because that's where you're going to learn and embrace some of this stuff. But when we now go into this bit where we start talking about these hero doses, I wouldn't until that will call you when you've done the rest of the journey. That will call you out, because already 100% this has happened to me since I did the hero dose of mushrooms. DMT has started calling me. Started calling me out, like DMTs, and it's like it's not as in like, oh, DMT's sat there on my shoulder going, come and take DMT. Yeah. I'm not saying it like that. I mean people that don't know I've been on the mushroom.
And you've asked me this question before. And when you asked me this question before, I asked you more questions to dive in deeper about where it's coming from.
Yeah, but this is the thing, so, Lino. That's what I was just going to say, is like, it's not, when I say I'm listening to the whisper about DMT calling me, it's the fact of, like, I'm not mentioning that I've been on a mushroom trip to this person over there, but they're starting to talk to me about, if you've done a mushroom trip, would you do DMT as well? I'm like, but you didn't even know I'd done a mushroom trip, did you? Yeah. So energetically, it starts to call you, right?
Like I said, we live in echo chambers. Life is an ecosystem. Everything touches everything. Do you know what I mean? And it gets like we sort of, start to attract. Law of attraction, it starts to vibrate out there, and in the universe and the world starts to reflect that back to us. And, like I've definitely had plenty of plant medicines, recommended to me. I didn't even know it was a thing, until a couple of years ago.
Because you've done things like cactus. Have you done ayahuasca yet?
I've done, yep. Yeah, I've done ayahuasca. I've done a couple of things, and there's been things where I'm like, you really have to be called to it. And some things, I would never do anything in a rush. Like, it's not like someone goes, "Oh, you want to have a beer?" And you're just like, "Oh, yeah, no," and you just have a beer. Like, it's that is just
that'd
a
be
beer.
A big thing for me, Lino.
That's right. Yeah. That is just a beer.
Yeah.
But like plant medicine, sharing breath with someone, like for me, I give full reverence to it. So a lot of the time, if I feel called, it'll be yeah. I'll say yes, but I wouldn't do anything.
What's been your wildest experience on like mushrooms, cactus, ayahuasca? Tell me a story about one of your wildest experiences of it.
You know what? Probably, and you know the beauty about plant medicine is it's not addictive, right? It'll always give you what you need, not what you want. Yeah, and my first experience was with my wife. Yeah, with a really great friend of mine, and they used to run retreats. So I had I'd finished this workshop, and I said to her, and I shared with her, I can see why you would say, because the moment I'd met her, she had called me brother and sister, like from the beginning, and I'm like, that's interesting. She called me brother from the beginning. I'm like, that's interesting. I know who my sisters are, and I get it, but she was quite hippie. Yeah. But after I'd finished, I'd built such tight, close relationships through this experience, this weekend, that I'd shared with, over 100 people. I was just like, what I experienced that weekend, I shared that with her. And I said, I could understand why you would feel like you had connected so close with people that you felt called, that you would call them brother or sister. And she, and then I said, and that's why I'd had my first breathwork experience as well. And I shared with her that, about that I can see where plant medicine would fit in. Yeah. And she said, excellent. I think you should come for a journey with us on Sunday. And I said to her, yeah, I 100% didn't tell that to you so that you could tell that to me. And then we shared the first experience with her. And like my wife never had a drug or a cigarette in her life.
Yeah.
Yep, ever. Me, like I was buck wild in my 20s. Buck wild. Yeah.
You probably tried every drug.
Yeah. There's very little that I've done, but I guess I associate your 20s with your 20s, and when I turn 30, I'm like, if I maintain that behavior in my 30s, then I've not changed at all. There's nothing, I haven't grown, and I'm like, I don't want to be that guy in my 30s or my 40s, still behaving like I'm the last one at the party. Now I'm just the old guy that didn't know how to grow up. So I chose to leave my behavior from my 20s in my 20s, and as I transitioned out, so it was time to grow up, and I became more serious about my life, which was really great because I got to gain greater control of my life, to live a life that I really wanted to live. So when I shared this with her, and she shared that with me, I was like, yeah, this is not something that I had planned. And then she said, it'd be great to have you and your wife join us. I was like, yeah, I didn't plan that you were going to say that either. And, we all know when an opportunity comes, and what I kind of felt like is if I say no to this opportunity, I feel like I'm saying no to an experience. And I feel like this is actually an experience that I could benefit from. Yeah? Yeah. I didn't feel like there was something, screaming at me saying no. So when you were talking about feeling called to do something, I was just like, okay, so me and my wife, we felt into it, we spoke about it. That was probably the most, it's almost like, like the first time you'll never forget. And it just never has been. Yeah, like I've never forgotten about that. I've definitely had other bigger experiences, but what I experienced that night was I would never turn to recreational substances ever again.
You learned that from
that one night.
That one night told you that.
Yeah. That experience that I had, I was like, why would you bother? Why would you bother? What I have learnt about myself and what I've experienced, not just with myself, but with my wife as well, I could never have experienced like in a million years. And that one experience, you only get one first time. So that experience, like it stands out head and shoulders above anything that I've ever experienced. You know, it was a special moment that I got to share with my wife, and you know, it was it was a really beautiful experience that has never left me.
See, the first experience that you took me on, this was the 2 gram experience. I felt kind of elevated, and I know that there was a lot of learnings in it for me. But that second 5 gram hero dose, to me, I am not exaggerating when I say this. I feel like I've manifested my next 12 months of growth in that. I thought it was 20 minutes. I get out the back end of it. You tell me I was in there for like 3 or 4 or 5 hours.
Almost 4 hours, yeah.
Yeah, it was the best thing I've ever done in my entire life. Hands down, the best experience I've had in my entire life. All because of the way it's been teed up from September. This element of my journey started in September when I sat down at that table with you and worked all the way through this and did all the breath work and sound bowl healing and all this other stuff. It all got there, and I want to clearly articulate this, but obviously Lino came round and he set the room up, and there was obviously there's pillows and I was laying on the floor, and Lino's got his instruments out and he's got his music playing, and you know, you take 5 grams of cacao. It's very ceremonial. It's not like you're taking a recreational drug, like you've just said. It's all ceremonial in the way that you do it. And 15 minutes later, I feel like I'm floating off somewhere. And when you have that deep knowing in yourself that you've done all the work, like if you're a boxer and you've trained for 12 weeks and you know you've been on the road running every day, you know that you can trust your hands, you can trust your feet in that fight. And it's like I'd done all the work. I'd boxed off all the shadows, probably not all the shadows, but a load of dark shadows at work. And I got into that, and I laid down after 15 minutes of having this stuff, and I started to float away, and I could just allow myself, because with plant medicine you need to allow yourself to go, and I just allowed myself to go, Lino, right? And I went away, mate, and I was in there, and I was meeting people, and I could see everyone I was going to meet and see all the relationships I was going to have in terms of and the deals I was going to do and the guests I was going to book, and it was all just, everything was just working. I could see it all, and I could see the neurological pathways of my brain connecting with each other, and it was fucking wild. It was so wild, and I just didn't want it to be over. It was the best thing in my life.
Yeah.
That is honestly how I fucking felt through the whole thing, and I came out of the back end of that, and you're like, how'd that go? And I was just so full of joy, because in that here's the fucking thing it taught me, right? It took me out of my body, so to speak. This is how it felt. It felt like it took me out of my body. It gave me an ego death in terms of like what I thought I had to turn up to the world as and how I should turn up to the world. It's kind of, I can't even properly articulate that just yet. I'm not even processed it myself. And then it's like, it just, all this bullshit I was worried about, be it about a woman, be it about this guy said this about me, I want to smack this geezer in the face because he's wronged me in the past. All this stuff is like, it literally said to me, and there's been a few things that had happened to me in the very recent times before I got into this journey that I was pretty like, fucking hell, that I'm a nice geezer. Why is that happening? And it showed me why. It said this has happened because this is where you're going, and I guarantee you, I fucking hand on heart believe that what I see and the growth that I see in the next 12 months will be fucking magical because of this experience that I've had with mushrooms. I swear down, I manifested my whole next 12 months in that trip, and I'm not even ashamed to say it.
And don't be, and as you're sharing, it's reminding me of every journey that I've held space for you in.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've been on the floor in tears, right?
Broken, mate.
Multiple times. And in the moment, like, you're not broken, but it feels broken, right? Like, we've all felt that way before. Majority of people, like, most humans can relate to the feeling of feeling broken. Yeah. But it's an experience that a human will experience. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And also, just want to add to that.
Because I'm not here to put you back together. Let's get a few things clear.
Yeah.
I'm not your savior. I'm not your guru. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not here to save you.
Yeah, 100%.
Does you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not here to fix you.
And people are looking for all those things, and they shouldn't be.
Yeah. Because now you give me the hero, the savior, the guru complex, and pedestal me, and it's not true. All your learnings, your breakthroughs, your experiences came from within you. Your experience came from within you. We can't give what we don't have. So all of your experiences came from within you.
Yeah, I've never,
because of
never
all the work that we'd been through, months, you got to have the experience that you had. Now, let's say we didn't do all of the work we'd done before. We hadn't gone through all the experiences and into the depths, and round we went, right? Okay, and it just if that didn't happen, do you believe that these experiences would have been what they were?
No, not even close. Like
and I would have told you no.
Yeah, 100%. And there'll be a lot of people that might reach out to you after this podcast going, "Hey, Lino, I want to go on a mushroom trip."
Yeah,
and the answer will be no, because you've not seen you can't. How could you guide someone on that journey?
We haven't,
because you haven't you haven't shared the space. No, exactly right.
No,
and that is why I believe that. You know, I come on here and I do these podcasts as well as the business ones and all the other ones that we do. But I do these podcasts with people like Lino and others, because this is me documenting my journey to you guys as I go through it. So, like, no one's a perfect human. There's many people out there that you probably see and put on a pedestal because you think they're perfect, but it's like, I'm just showing you vulnerability and all. This is what I'm doing, and this is how I'm going through, and this is what happened, and this is my experience of this, so that you can take it as a reference point and kind of be inspired to take action for yourself, because this is what this podcast is all about. This isn't about my experience. It isn't about what Lino does either. It's more about calling you out to action what you need to action in your life. That is what this whole podcast is for, is to show you a mirror and say, hang on a minute, that person is no different to me, so why can't I do that? And you can do that, and everything is open to you. You just have to be willing to go and action it in your life.
And beyond, this period of time, like now, you may never touch plant medicine ever again. As you're sharing this, I think to myself, between journeys and experiences, it's been months.
Yeah.
Between another journey, another experience. Like, I literally will not do anything unless I feel called to it. Microdosing isn't something I do every single day, but maybe 3 or 4 days out of the week, and then some weeks, like, not at all.
Yeah. 100%.
Like, I'm not reliant on it. And there's times where I don't want any influence from anything. Yeah, I actually just want to fast. That's what I want for my morning. No cacao, no microdose, no long black. Yeah, no supplements. I'm on water. Maybe I might fast. I might water fast for 13 hours, 16 hours, or maybe that's what I feel my body needs. And this is why I'm so proud that you've been able to develop and cultivate a higher level of intuition, which is ultimately what I work towards with any of my clients. Or anyone that works with me, is to guide and support you to cultivate a higher level of intuition and a higher level of discernment.
Yeah. To discern what's right for you and what's wrong for you.
That's right, yeah. And be intuitive enough, have a strong enough intuition to feel that.
Yeah, because you, all of you that listen to this, all have intuition.
Everyone does.
You all have intuition, but I think many of you have allowed that to become clouded, and it's because you've become disconnected with it because you're trying to follow certain processes. But I encourage you to really look inward, because all the growth that you're going to see from me in the next 12 months, all the growth that you've seen from me along this journey with this podcast, and everything you're seeing right now is a reflection of the inside work. It is nothing external that is delivering the results that I'm getting or I'm trying to get in life. Everything is looking within. There is nothing external. Like the external, I learned a long time ago when I had the penthouse apartment, when I had the sports car outside, when I had the Italian girlfriend back in the UK, when I had all of that, and I was still sat in that apartment and I was still fucking empty. I learned a long time ago, shiny objects don't mean shit. Right? I learned that a long time ago. That's why, I don't chase Lamborghinis and all this stuff. I'd rather just pump my cash into my podcast. That's my passion. That's something that actually physically lights me up than something that looks shiny. And that's what I encourage every one of you to do, is like put your money and put your time, put your efforts into things that generally light you up from the inside, and then that will reflect in your external environment, whether it be more money, whether it be more opportunities, whether just attracting different things, because that's how it's worked out for me. So I can only tell you what works for me, and I guarantee you, if you implement it for yourselves, it's going to work for you too. I've
and
learned
it's a journey. Like, life's a journey. Like you were talking before about the whispers. Like, your body is always telling you stuff. And if you're on stimulants, if you're too caffeinated, or if your judgment is clouded, if you're in a wrong environment, or if you're continually, leaning into your vices, cigarettes, drugs, sex, food, all of these things that numb and suppress and distract you from actually feeling what's there for you, because that's what a vice is for, right? It's there to distract you.
How can people learn and accept what their vices are? Because I could look at someone else's and say, they've got a vice there. But sometimes when you're in it, you can't see you've got a vice.
Majority of the time when you're in it, you can't see it.
Yeah, this is the problem. So how can people then that are listening to this dissect for themselves what is actually healthy and what's a vice to them now?
The power of your life comes down to the power of your questions. You want more powerful answers? Ask more powerful questions. Every now and then, take an opportunity to drop your vice. Maybe you might be going to buy that chocolate bar, or go head out for that cigarette break. Every now and then, maybe take the time to, instead of going out for that, instead of picking up that drink, instead of going out, instead of buying, the food that isn't really in alignment with the plan that you're on, just take a moment to just stop and pause and ask yourself a more powerful question. What's really going on here? Do I actually need a cigarette right now? No one needs a cigarette. However, if it's, some people really enjoy it. They really enjoy, take like a shisha. You might I don't believe that the human body was designed to, inhale smoke. I just don't think that lungs were designed for that. However, people enjoy, having a joint, having some shisha, maybe vaping. But when you find yourself dependent on it, now it's a vice. So before you reach out for it, ask yourself, do you actually really need it?
Yeah.
Do I need it, or do I just want it?
Yeah.
What am I really feeling? What is it I'm really actually wanting? What am I feeling that I'm not saying?
I love that. What am I feeling that I'm not saying?
Yeah.
Because many times when I've gone to vices like copious amounts of sex, or eating certain foods at certain times, this, that, and the other, if I'd asked myself a more powerful question in that time, it would have been because I was hurting in some form of respect internally, and I never admitted it to myself at that moment in time.
It's something that, a more current example is the whole Will Smith, Chris Rock thing, right?
Yeah.
So we only really act out in violence because we are incapable of using words. We don't have the words to say, so I'll use physical violence, right?
Yeah.
Generally, unless you're really defending someone or defending yourself. Yeah, but that situation, she wasn't in danger. He wasn't protecting her.
He was hurting.
He was hurting. He was experiencing something inside, so he needed to express it. Because he was incapable of using words,
he couldn't communicate it.
He physically communicated.
Yeah.
My question is, what did he really want to say? What really needed to be said that he never got to say? Because he still hasn't said it.
Yeah, he is.
No one's got to hear what he didn't say yet.
And when you said this to me on the phone, because we talked about this on the phone, didn't we? We talked about this for 20 odd minutes. But like, when you said this to me on the phone, it's profound what you said. Because I was like, fucking hell. I realized that in the moment that, you know, there's a man who I thought it was really weak attacking another man on national TV, right? But then I was like, break patterns, flip perspectives after you said what you fucking said, and I'm like, fuck, Frankie boy, this man is fucking hurting, and he all he wants to be is heard, and he doesn't know how to express what he needs to say to be heard right now. So he's walked up, got himself a 5-year ban from the Academy Awards, and smacked Chris Rock, 10-year ban, and smacked Chris Rock across the face. Yeah. A joke that Chris Rock didn't even write.
Yeah, off the cuff.
Off the cuff, do you know what I mean? Like, he didn't even write the joke. Someone else wrote the joke for him to say.
Yeah.
That was the truth.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, that is the truth of that. Like, that is fundamentally worrying, and I think there's a lot of us that go through that. When I
see misbehavior, I guess, violence, acting out, my real question is, what's driving the behavior? And I guess in society, we're generally conditioned to judge the behavior that we're seeing. It's normal human, sort of response.
we judge the outcome, but we don't look for the okay. There's a cause to this effect.
That's right.
There is a cause to this effect.
There is a cause and effect.
Yeah.
There is always a causal reason, okay, why something is happening. And the cause and effect, right, side of the equation. Which side are you on? You on the cause side? You're the one creating, your reality, or are you at the effect?
So what this is teaching you is the fact that if there's an effect in your life that you're not liking right now, your role is to find out the cause to the effect that you're getting, the outcome you're getting that you're not liking, and then figuring out to yourself why what it is that triggers you to do that.
If we're on the effect side of the equation, then we're 100% going to be in victimhood.
Yeah.
Why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? The moment we flip it, and it's why is this happening for me? Now we're on the cause side. You're in control now. Right. You're taking your power back. Yeah. Taking your power back.
Yep.
He was looking for validation. He was looking for love.
Yeah.
From his wife. He was looking to be praised for standing up for her.
And love, I don't think she's ever given him.
And it was never going to work out. Like it was never going to work out. There was never any way in the world that hitting another man who's also much smaller and older than you are on international TV is going to work out well for you. Like it's just there's no way in the world. But we get down to the real core of it.
But he knew that. And he still couldn't find a way to say what he wanted to say without processing it with violence.
So that's the real question here is...
That is a deep wound.
What do you really want to say? And when we go back to the question that you asked is how can someone, start creating change?
Yeah.
The power of your life comes down to the power of your questions. Ask more powerful questions. So when you reach out for that advice, just take a moment to pause. Like if you really need it, you're going to get it anyway. If you really need that cigarette break, you'll take that cigarette break. But before you do, start taking the time to ask more powerful questions. Do I need this? No. Well, why do I need this? Yeah. I don't know. What don't I know? I don't know why I need the cigarette.
What am I choosing not to know?
I sound crazy. Am I talking to myself? Why am I talking to myself? Because I actually don't want to smoke. Here I am, grabbing for the cigarette. This is my 6th cigarette on this shift. It's like, man, I've been trying to quit for how long? Why am I smoking? It's because I'm having a damn hard time at work. And why does work so painful? It's because the truth is I'm having a hard time at home.
Yeah. You can uncover within yourself exactly the truth. Keep digging. Why?
Follow it.
And keep following that why, and you'll find the answer. Yeah.
You'll get, and you can keep on digging, but I'm like, you always know when you've hit something. So when you get to that something, sit with it. Yeah.
And don't judge it either. Don't judge it.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of making things wrong, So that's why, this relationship has been what it's been is, it's like whatever you've been going through or whatever you've been feeling or whatever you've been experiencing, I allow you to feel it. I'm not here to tell you how to feel. And it's your body. You're the one who knows what you're feeling.
But you've also helped me understand that when I'm feeling it and when I'm sitting in it, and even though it might be painful, don't judge yourself for feeling that pain, which slowed my growth down at this in my life previously is the fact of I used to feel a pain and then judge myself and beat myself up about feeling a pain in a certain way, and then box off emotions that way and store. So when we did that first massive breath work and I released it and I was crying for like 3 hours, that was like 27, 28, 29 years worth of fucking emotions that were coming out that I'd stored ever since I was a child, all through the times when I went to the boxing gym, the time when Michael Maguire put me on my fucking ass and I'm laying on the back, in a boxing gym looking up, seeing fucking Tweety birds floating around my fucking head, and I felt, oh fucking hell, what's happened here? All these times, and I wanted to cry in that moment, but I didn't cry because it wasn't manly to cry. But every part of me wanted to cry. I'm laying there. I've got a fucking broken nose. I'm laying on my back. Of course I want to fucking cry. Like, do you know what I mean? How do you feel? Like, it's a natural reaction. Like,
think of it. Now, let's say you felt the freedom that you could, right?
Yeah.
Now, you do that a couple of times. After a while, you find yourselves in that situation a couple of times. One, you're going to get better. So you're probably not going to find yourself in that situation as regularly as what you were.
Yeah.
Two, you're eventually going to get past it, because you've got the freedom to express. So now you're able to get stronger.
Yep.
Because you've realized that you're actually okay. You're not actually broken. But because you couldn't feel the emotion to begin with, what we resist persists. When we don't express, we suppress.
Yeah.
And we suppress it long enough, now we become depressed.
Yeah. So suppressing becomes depressing.
Well, it's become stored energy, right?
Yeah,
it can evolve into manifest into a whole list of things.
So whatever you suppress becomes depression.
Well, it can.
So over time, because
yeah,
that makes a hell of a lot of sense to me. So in essence, you should rather than storing, you should be looking to dig up all the emotions within your body. Over a set period, not all at once, but over a set period of time, you should be looking to address all these triggers.
I think in safe spaces.
In safe spaces.
In safe spaces.
To process it.
Yeah, because not every space is a safe space to do it. You could create more trauma by releasing or expressing in an unsafe environment, and now it gets worse.
I want to talk into this, and I don't want to talk out of term when I say this, but I think I'm right in saying this, Lino, and you tell me if I'm right or wrong. Happy to be either, but people that are abused as children, right? They have to take ownership of the fact of like that happened to be able to move through it, right? They have to be able to. They can't if they constantly blame that person, right? Then they can't move through it. Because I've got friends that are going through certain things that happen to the childhood, and I'm like, mate, if you keep blaming that person and that thing and that environment, and you become that victim, you can't move through the fucking other side of it.
No, we can't. That the forgiveness has to take place at some point in time, but the healing process has to begin. Yep, and
so how
we have to take ownership of our own healing.
I think there's more people experiencing that would never dare talk about it. There may even be people listening now that have experienced that. How can they move through that then? Is it just a case of like having to come to terms with the fact of like you have to forgive that person in their life to be able to do that healing and to?
the healing journey has to take place, and everyone's journey is individual to their own. So my healing journey is different, and I come from a family of 12 kids. So we have a different experience. Perspective is everything. So what we all experience is different to each other. What my experience and story might sound similar to someone else's, but the way that I heal through something is very different to someone else. You know, some people are super resilient to healing. It doesn't take much, and some people takes a lot.
Yeah.
Some people never even experience it.
Yeah. It'd just be a shame to know that there's things that trigger you in life and to not try and mend that wound. Because
it's a real thing, and a lot of the world are experiencing it.
I still have many that I'm trying to dig up and process and go through even now, and there will be. It's not an end. It's not something that ends. No end date to this. But I would encourage everyone that listens to this to really look at anything that pisses you off or anything that gives you any form of about it, because there's a lot of growth in that.
Well, this is what I think. Yes, it's a journey, and it's a process. Yeah, and change can take place at any given time. It can happen in a moment. It can happen 5 seconds, 5 minutes, 5 days, 5 weeks, 5 months, 5 years. My question, I ask this question all the time. How quick how much time does it take for you to fall in love?
A moment.
It can be a moment. It can be a growing love that happens over time. But when do you know?
When you know.
Yeah. You know it, and you just know. That realization happens in a moment. Change can take place in the same, time frame. Yeah. But it's not a race. It is a marathon. It can be a marathon, or it could be a sprint. Like it can, for me, I'm an inches man, and I don't need too many hints. So like it could be literally, a small hint or a quick, a small realization. I'm like, ooh, that's enough for me. I'm good. Yeah, don't say no more. I've got everything I need. Yeah. And my logical mind will start extracting all the information that I need to just support whatever it is I just realized. And I'm doing it. Wow. Didn't realize that. But now that I know, once we're aware, now we have choice. I can make a decision now.
Once we're aware, now we have choice. That's a powerful statement right there.
And I can make a decision. And the more we do this, the better we get at it. That's generally how it should work. So the more we grow, the more we experience, the greater our capacity is to be able to do more, to be more. To live more. Yeah. So this is what I mean about collapsing time. Because we've been able to work so intimately and so close, clarity equals speed. You've been able to grow quite fast. The man that sits in front of me is dozens and dozens of levels above the man that first started with me.
I appreciate that, mate. I appreciate it, yeah.
Not we're in double figures. Yep, we're not in the 2s or 3s, you've leveled up 3 times since we started together. No, we're far beyond that. Far beyond that. And I guess this is, the power of things like breathwork, like plant medicine. They will collapse time. They will upgrade you tenfold, or have the power to upgrade you tenfold, because we're taking you out of the mind and into the body now, which is the unconscious, which is ridiculously more powerful. And if the unconscious mind is 95% of what goes on and the conscious mind's only 5%, thinking your way into growth, you might be completely underplaying your potential.
Thinking yourself into growth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So really, sometimes you got to take the mind, your mind out of it.
Well, the human body, the human mind, humans can intellectualize and justify pretty much anything.
And the key word here is you can justify anything.
You can justify anything, because the ego likes to do its thing. And the ego is designed to help you survive.
That was the most powerful thing about this whole mushroom experience for me was allowing that ego to calm and soothe. And you're always going to have some form of ego in some respects, and that's by the by.
We need an ego. Comes part of being human.
We need it. But what I'm saying is, if your ego is charged by triggers of your past, which a lot of egos, most people are, they're triggered by the wound has jarred the ego. The ego fights. The ego becomes. It steps in. It becomes a misrepresentation of who you are, and then causes a void between you and others. This is how it happened in my life. Like, the wounds hurt me. They jarred the ego. The ego comes out. The ego then creates a void between me and other people, whether it be in a gym environment, whether it be in an outside environment. So now I'm wanting to be the best version of myself, but I'm presenting a different version to the world that's now being resented by these people over here. Meanwhile, this guy's over here just going, "Hey, just love me, just love me." Do you know what I'm saying? No. Yeah, carry on. This happens. This happens to so many fucking people, and that is all down to not. The fundamental thing is, it's all down to not addressing the key wounds that you need to address. That we all deeply know, if we're fucking honest, we all deeply know they're there.
Well, the way I sort of like to look at it is, so the ego is designed to protect you, right?
Yeah.
It's designed to make you right, okay?
And everyone else wrong.
Yeah. It's not designed to make you wrong. It cares that you survive, and it doesn't care if you're surviving through a straw. Because you're still surviving.
Do you know one of the best things that I've ever learnt, though?
Yeah.
I can't remember whether you taught me, or whether I've just fucking picked this up from experience of doing this podcast or whatever I've done. But like, I question every fucking belief I have, and I ask myself, where did that come from, and is it even fucking true, Frankie boy?
Yeah.
Like, is that true?
Yeah.
How many people do you know that have that there's some form of race out there that triggers them because their mum or dad had a fucking ailment with them, or some form of thing triggers them because their mum and dad had an ailment? It's a taught lesson.
I think so. Way I look at it is that on the top we have our behavior.
Yeah.
And driving that behavior, emotions, values, and belief systems.
Yeah.
Now, our values are what matters most to us, and our belief systems, well, some of them serve us and some of them don't.
Yeah.
But they can still be a belief system, like hard work pays. If you work hard, you'll have a good life. If you study hard at school, you'll get a great job.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Well,
or has that changed over time?
Well, it can be true and it can be false. It's what it is to you,
yeah.
but you have to question it. And
that's why.
To me, on a personal level, right? Hard work, from what I know and the life that I've experienced, life isn't about hard work. Life, to me, in terms of creating more abundance in my life, has been all about asking better questions and thinking, right? Asking better questions and fucking thinking. Like, and the better I get at asking questions, and the more I think on the answers and whether they're fucking true or not, has led to things not being about hard work anymore.
Well, I guess, as you're sharing this, it makes me kind of think that what we've been able to do is marry your body with your mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Getting these two things to work together. Getting your unconscious mind to work even better with your mind. Now we got a whole body working together, which is why you're able to fire on all pistons.
Do you know that the I agree with you, but the biggest thing that's open for me has been my heart.
Oh, yeah.
Bro, the way.
Well, where is your heart?
Huh?
It's in this body of yours.
Yeah, but it was closed. My heart was closed off to so many things, and I have seen. You can hear it in all my communication. You can hear if you listen to every podcast I've ever been on this journey, I was always passionate about the podcast, and I'd always do it from the right place. But now I'm able to reconnect with my heart and able to speak from my heart more. There has to be more feeling in it now than there was, even though there was feeling in it before. But maybe it was from a more hurt place. Well, now it's from a more whole place. Is a different kind of. Me speaking into that, I feel it different. So I imagine if you're listening, it might feel different too.
Well, the fact that you said that, my heart opened just hearing you say that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, brother, you're right.
Yeah, because
you're right. And we're either coming from a place of fear or we're coming from a place of love.
And I come on in and I do these podcasts and I'll talk into these wounds because I just want you all to heal yours.
Well, I guess the thing is that you don't have the attachment to your image that you used to.
Yeah.
So you're cool with sharing this, and I guess maybe I can't even remember the stage of my life where I was able to let go of my attachment of guilt or shame or embarrassment. But I think, like, if there was ever a time, or maybe there wasn't a time.
Yeah.
Maybe I've just always been free to speak. I don't ever remember my dad or my parents really ever saying, and I grew up, I talked a lot.
Yeah.
Ever telling me to shut up.
Yeah.
If I cried, they never told me to stop crying, any of that sort of stuff, or I was feeling a certain way, if I wanted to speak up or anything. If anything, my family always knew that I was going to speak.
Yeah.
They always knew. Anytime there's ever a speech, like, I've got a big family. Someone's got to say something. And me, I feel like I'm like, well, someone needs to, we need to mark this moment. We need to, speak into this celebration. So that's the way that I feel about something. So I'll be the one who'll say the speech at the wedding. So no one's ever actually told me. So maybe I've never had that embarrassment part. The confidence part in public maybe has taken me time to get to that point. But I'll guarantee you, I've spoken and fumbled over my words embarrassingly, but still said it anyway.
Yeah, I was a loud kid, but I realised the reason I feel I'm good at speaking now, the reason I feel I'm good at I'm getting better as a communicator is because I've always been speaking since I was a kid, but I didn't realise the reason I was speaking when I was a child was to get attention, because I wanted attention, right? I wanted attention from my family, to get this form of love that I didn't feel I was receiving as a child. However, you could see that as a bad thing, and I've addressed all those triggers and boxed them off now. That's why I can talk about it freely and openly, right? Here's the thing, right? That served me because that allowed me to get the reps in speaking.
Yeah.
I've been going out, introducing myself to women and introducing myself to people since I was 4 fucking years old. Right? I've been walking up I said to my mum, what was the first words that I ever spoke? She said, your first words were, "How do you do, lady?" And do you know what I'm saying? Because I'd learnt to go up to in the supermarket, run off and go up to people and say, "How do you do, lady?" And those were my first words. So like all that attention seeking that I was doing at that particular time in my childhood served me and enables me and aids me. That's why I was saying to people back in this podcast, like, not everything that you see as a bad thing is actually not. Like, I got lots of reps in speaking speaking to lots of different people from an early age because I was seeking something that I had a wound to, and that's an amazing thing.
You can literally turn something that comes from a place of fear or maybe a scarcity mindset. If you're
into your biggest power,
based, and you can turn it, you can flip it.
Yeah,
100%. Yeah, you can flip it. You can pivot on a dime at any given time.
So if you were going to give, then before we go, if you're going to give, drop your pearl of wisdom in terms of like how people can change and embrace themselves to get more out of life, what paragraph pearl of wisdom would you drop in their ears so that they can change and embrace more of that life for them.
Life was made to be lived. Life was made to be shared. And if it wasn't made to be shared, then what's the point of all these other people? Lean into your life. Yep, you only have one job to do, and that was to live your life. And even if it might scare you, even if you might be feeling fear come up, feel those emotions. And the more we feel our emotions, the stronger, the bigger the body that we build. The greater the capacity we build to experience more. And you are going to be able to live more life. As a kid, you spoke to adults. You didn't know that you were in training to have your own podcast. Yeah. I didn't, everything that, like you said before, that I've experienced has actually prepared me for the life that I live now.
Yeah, 100%.
All my pain, all my hurt, all my experiences, all my losses, I thought they were losses, but they were actually lessons to prepare me for the life that I live now. And as you said before, people may want a piece of the snapshot that they see. What they don't see is all the preparation that has led up to this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I say is go experience life. Step outside of your comfort zone. Yeah, step outside of your circle. Say yes to some things that you probably would usually say no to. And maybe every now and then say no to some things that you say yes to way too frequently. Make some room for some new things.
Yeah, it's all about creating the space.
Yeah.
Mate, I love it. That's so sick, bro. So sick. Thank you so much again for coming on the podcast. And thank you, mate, for sharing this whole journey with me, the last 7, 8, 9 months, whatever it's been. It's been fucking phenomenal growth for me on a personal level. And I hope that translates to all of you that listen, wherever you're listening to this. I hope that translates to you as well. And I really hope that there's some gems of value within this that me and Lino have sat down and you just pull them out and you implement these in your life and it takes you to the next fucking level. I really fucking mean that. And I love every one of you that shares the content and sends me the beautiful messages that you send me and just embraces it, shares it with their friends. I fucking appreciate all of you wholeheartedly for that. And it's not lost on me in any respect at all. Know that. Again, put this in as many people's ears as possible if you feel it's valuable. And that's all I can say. That's Lino Hola.
Much love.
And much love.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Frankie Lee Podcast.